Hello and welcome to Tea Talk, where the topics are real, relevant, and relaxing. It's Tea Talk time, and here is Lady O.
Thank you, Tracy. And that green is looking good on you. Well, listen, welcome to Tea Talk. I'm Lady O, and I'm so glad to have each and every one of you all join in. Today, we have a topic that is so real and so relevant for such a time as this that I tell you, I need you to go and share with all your friends. Call them up, text them, whatever you need to do to get them on the show today. This is a very, very serious subject that we're talking about, and one that we as African Americans have not really been serious enough and dedicated enough, and we're looking up, and something's about to change. Remember, not too long ago, the thing was Make America Great Again. People wanted to take us back to the old days. And when I pulled out my mug for today, this is the mug that I pulled up. This is a picture of me and my father. And during this time, when my father was young, uh, he was not welcome in school. Most of the schools that he was exposed to would be like a little one-room schoolhouse in the country where it was not equitable teaching materials, opportunities, because African Americans at one time it was illegal to teach us to read, to be educated. So today our topic is going to be about education, the public education, and the fact that we stand in danger of going backwards with our opportunities and the things that our children need to excel in this day and time. We cannot afford to let people take away what our forefathers have fought for so that we could become educated in schools that were fair, in schools that had where Black children had good school books, good materials, good teachers, nice buildings, good equipment. And if we're not careful, people are trying to take public education away from us, and they're trying to take us backwards, and we cannot go backwards. Now, here's the thing. If we're not going to go backwards, it means that we're going to have to fight. First of all, we got to wake up and realize what's going on. So we're going to be talking about today is real information to help you understand what's really going on and show you how that is so important that we do it now. We can't wait till next year to get it right. We got to get it right now. This is a very strategic time. And of course, it all starts with voting, us using the rights that we have to vote, and just spreading that to everybody we know and getting busy. It was so funny several years ago. I thought about the fact that we didn't have to fight for civil rights in the 60s. We didn't march. We didn't do sit-ins and those kind of things. We didn't get a chance to experience that. Hey, well, guess what? I spoke too soon. We are back in that day now where we may have to do some sit-ins, and we sure got to do some fighting. And we're going to tell you how to fight the best way right now to make sure that we're not taken advantage of and we're not taken back to the old days. Because back then, America was not great for Black people, and especially the form of education. So I want to just give this show today in tribute to my mother and father, who my father never did get his high school diploma, but my mother did go back and get her GED. So I want you to know that today you're going to be informed. There's going to be so much information. So get your pen and pencil down, call all of your friends, and this information is for everybody. This is for young people that are in high school, because at a certain age, you can vote in this upcoming election. You just have to know, we got to learn where and when do I vote? When can my senior get registered to vote? We're going to tell you about where to vote, what you can do to change. See, we have to be a part of this change, or else we're going to all go back and it's going to affect us all. And, it's harder getting out of something than keeping it. So we get busy working hard, we can keep what we got and move forward. But if we sit back and watch TV and go to all of these things, spend our money here and there, we're going to look up, and all the money in the world is not going to get us out of the situation that we're going to be in. And our poor children, it will take them a long time to get back what is going about to be stolen from them if we don't get the. So we're going to get informed. You're going to get. We're going to tell you how to get involved, and we're going to tell you how to get connected, because we need to get connected so that we're stronger together. Right? Everybody say stronger together. So your individual vote is good, but we need you to get connected to everybody else you know and join hands. And like we used to do, sing that kumbaya. We're going to do more than singing. We're going to get up and walk and do some things to make sure that people don't take us back and that we fight to move forward. Can I get a hoorah on that? So make sure you get all of your people signed in. After this show, I'm going to ask that you please share it with all of your groups and your friends on Facebook, social media, all of those things, because this is an important message that needs to get out. We are about to have a race in Cy-Fair, so that's what we're going to be talking about predominantly today. But this is also gearing us up for the other races that are going to be coming up. So let's get ready for that. And my first guest, I'm just really excited to bring him on. So before I bring him on, I'm going to give you a few more minutes to get your friends. I need some more people in the text. Are y'all texting your friends? Call them up. Come get on. Lady O's on now. Get on now. Tea Talk is going. And while we're doing that, I want to just kind of give a little commercial while we're waiting a few minutes. All of my ladies today are wearing green, and they're wearing the green t-shirts. I'm going to scan my computer down so you can see what mine says. Okay, it is our Women at the Feet of Jesus Women's Conference. Is coming up October 7th, which is very, very soon, in a couple of weeks. So listen, go ahead and go and get registered. You can go on the First Met website, myfirstmet.com, or either you can look on my website. I've been advertising it. There are links. There are QR readers for you to register. You don't want to miss this. So that's why we're wearing our green. The green is for go, for strength, for power, for growth, as we move forward in the Women at the Feet of Jesus Conference. And there's a place there in your chat for you to register with a link. And it's redemptioncdc.org to register. When you get there, just click on the link and you can register. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, everybody should be on now. Everybody should have called somebody. If you haven't done that, you need to make sure you still do it while we're talking. I'm going to bring my first guest on today. He is an amazing young man. So I'm going to let him introduce himself to you and tell what he does. He's powerful. He's just a man for such a time as this. So would you help me welcome Mr. Otis Ebangaro to Tea Talk? Welcome, Mr. Ebangaro.
Thank you, Lady O. I really appreciate you and really appreciate the introduction and the really nice and kind words that you have sent to me. Everyone, First Met and everybody else around the world, my name's Otis Ebangaro. I used to be the Chief of Staff for State Representative John Rosenthal, who represents a piece of Northwest Harris County and predominantly the Cy-Fair ISD district. And that's going to be really important as we move on in this discussion. He's a great man, wonderful human being, and I was so happy to be his chief of staff, and I still do a lot of work around him, so it's always great. I now have my own small little business where I do a lot of political communications, strategic engagement, and strategic planning to make sure that we're living the values that we put out. And so when it comes to education, it goes into a creed that I most wholeheartedly believe in, is that we have a moral obligation to leave the world a better place than we received it. And that includes education. Education is a big part of that. As the son of immigrants, as you can see my last name, Nigeria parents, myself, who was born in London, England, two things that were really important to our family: entrepreneurship, being able to make your own dollar because you have to send that back home, working, making sure that your work ethic is really strong. But the number one thing that my father would tell you, and these are all of his books behind me. so this is all of him. And what he would tell myself, my brother, and my sister, all three of us Cy-Fair ISD public school graduates, is that education is the most important thing. It's the key to unlocking success. It's the key to creating your own family and growing your own family. It's the key to living the American dream that so many of us talk about in this country. And so right now we are facing a battle. We're facing a battle in the classrooms when it comes to properly funding our education system. Let me start with that. In
Okay.
the state of Texas, in the state of Texas, we don't even take a dollar. Think about our budget and how per dollar we take cents out of that dollar. We don't even spend half of that for public education. We rank 48th in the country in pure per pupil education spending. That is horrific. We can't keep saying that our future is really important when we don't actually invest in our future. So the
Right.
funding of that is just abhorrent. It's unacceptable, and that's how we have to really fight for these upcoming elections, Lady O, like you stated in the introduction.
Right. And you know, and let's talk about that for a minute because many years ago, Bishop and I got an invitation to come to Austin, pastors, all the Black pastors, and they fed us. You know, they put us in a hotel and stuff, or we really didn't know exactly what it was all about. At the end of it, we found out it was for voucher.
Yeah.
They wanted the Black pastors to support vouchers. Now, can you explain to our congregation the threat that vouchers have toward public school? Is that something that's kind of behind the scene? I know the representatives are meeting on vouchers and things
That's
like
right.
that. Can you talk about the threat that vouchers bring in private schools and so forth to Black people in public school?
It is a tremendous danger to especially the Black community. Do not get fooled by this rhetoric that they use about parental choice, right? That's what you hear a lot about when it comes to vouchers in private school. Parents already have the choice to put their children in private schools. That's a made up thing. The reason why it's such a detriment to Black and brown students, particularly Black students, is because this is an excuse again for the leadership in Austin and our statewide leaders to not properly fund public education schools where you see predominantly Black kids being educated in, right? That's what we talk about, that funding. And in fact, when we talk about vouchers, and Lady O said it the best. If you're paying attention to the Texas legislature, their work isn't done. What they're going to go do now is that the governor's going to call a special session in October trying to pass a voucher program in the state of Texas. If you have the ability to, please, we anticipate that October 9th is when the governor is going to call the special session. If you can, please go up to Austin and talk to all the state representatives, all the state senators. Let your voice be heard that we say no to vouchers. It is an extreme, dangerous place to go with public education. And let me tell you why. Number one, we're not funding our public education school systems the way we should be. Again, we're 48th in funding. We need to do better in that. The other thing about that is that how in the world are you going to put not even let's take some of the private schools that are in Houston, Texas alone. There's one down the street, Cypress Christian School. Tuition there is about $30,000 per year. You know what they're telling you, Lady O, that they're going to pass the vouchers for? About $12,000 per year. That still leaves more than half that you have to pay for out of pocket. Where are
Right.
you going to get that money from? For most parents who are working two jobs, trying to make ends meet, trying to take care of extracurricular activities for their children, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Let's talk about transportation.
Impossible.
Let,
Yeah.
let's talk about transportation, Lady O. Most kids ride the public school bus. How are you taking a kid from Fifth Ward to come to Cypress Christian School? How are they getting there? Are they going to sit in three and a half hour traffic in the morning and then in the evening? What about all these other things that we should be funding? Instead of worrying about making sure that public education is properly funded, these people in Austin are more worried about banning books. They're
Mhm.
more worried about curriculums that aren't even being taught in schools, and they're not worried about the
Mhm.
safety of our kids. They rather ban books than have some kind of reform when it comes to guns that are
Right.
continually killing our children in our school classes. So we've got to be active. We've got to make sure our voices are being heard. We've got to make sure that we're in Austin letting our representatives know Fund public education. Don't just say no to vouchers, but fund public
Public
education.
education. That's good. And Bishop's going to be speaking there in October at one of the sessions. I'll keep you aware. I think it's that one, but I'm not sure. But I know they've called him to Austin to speak out for public education. And, you know, with him being on the school board for 18 years and me working in the public school system, and that's what we believe in, public education. But we know that there are trigger words that are always used in elections to bring about fear, and I would say it's like the shiny object, you know, to take your mind off of what's really going on. And while you're thinking of being fearful of the books and, you know, this and that going on, that's not really what's going on. They really want to take your mind off of what they are trying to do. So while you're being angry and banning books and all this stuff, they're bringing in through the back door the fact we're taking away your public education. And it can happen to us. It just happened to HISD, that large school district, and it can happen to us. So I like that you talked about the funding part of it, because they're not funding us now.
No,
and what they're doing is leaving our communities. So therefore, their schools are still better than ours, because if you look at, you know, and I worked in the elite school districts, and I know what goes on in those districts, and I worked in the poor one. And even though they're both public education, they get so much money from the state. But the other schools that live in certain communities that have, quote unquote, a public private school, the parents fund extra things.
That's right.
You know, they get extra money from extra places. So it's still not equitable, because our parents are trying to work for minimum wage.
That's right.
They can't put all that money in the school. They can't come and volunteer out at the school. So it's not equitable. And what they're trying to do is get it to be their own private public schools and transition that into parents' rights by getting it totally now. Do away with the public school system. It's not working. Let's do the voucher way.
Right.
So, you know, it's these words, these fearing words, and they're just distractions, but that's really not what's going on. So, okay, so tell us what we can do. I know, first of all, is be informed, and you just informed us that October, and it seems like there's almost nothing we can do at this point. Let me just say this real quickly. And I said this before on my show, before Abbott got reelected, and we allowed him to get reelected. So now we're suffering the consequences of what he's doing, because he's back in power for another 7 years. I think the term is
4 years. Yeah. So he's in it for another 4 years after
another 4 years. And so he's just having his way with us. Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and talk about it. I just had to bring that in there, because this is why it's so important to act now, because it will take us 4 years to undo and get him out. Okay. And so it's better to not get him in there than try to get him out or wait 4 years. And if we don't do something about the school board here in Cy-Fair, it will take another 4 years for us to get out of it. So talk about this Cy-Fair situation and the public school system, what's going on now, and the importance of why we need to get involved.
Yeah, Lady O, you're absolutely right. You know, the former Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, used to always say all politics is local. And that still reigns true from when he said in the 80s, all politics is local. Here in the Cy-Fair ISD, right now, we have a one vote advantage for sanity. Right now, we have a school board that's of 7. 4 are making sure that students are at the forefront and public education are at the forefront of what we do in the community. 3 are extremists who only care about buzzwords, who only care about appeasing the Republican side. Not that I want to make this a partisan race, but that's what they're there for. They're there to appease those and use these buzzwords like critical race theory and banning books and not being inclusive like we should be in a community as diverse as Cy-Fair. So right now we have four seats that are open now. If we don't keep the 4 seats, we lose that one vote majority for sanity. That's why it's very important to get involved. There's 4 positions open. There's fantastic pro-public education candidates. Visit cyfairstrongschools.com to know who these 4 candidates are in each of those positions. I'll say it again, cyfairstrongschools.com. Get involved, volunteer, donate, make sure you're spreading the word to make sure that we keep the sanity on the Cy-Fair school board. It's important. Why? because HISD is our neighbors. You've seen the state taking over them. Dallas, they have their issues.
Mhm.
Austin ISD, you've seen what's happened there where TEA now is put in a conservator trying to control their school districts. They're coming for Cy-Fair ISD is the third most populous school district in the state. It's a top 20 school
Yep.
district in the country.
Mhm.
We're doing just fine in Cy-Fair rating. We can always do better. I would love for our third graders to read at a better reading level. We're having issues with that all across the state, but we're doing a really good job in Cy-Fair. We need to keep the sanity on school board, and that's why this election is super critical. Early vote starts October 23rd. Election day is November 7th. The last day to register to vote is October 10th for this election. I'm going to say it again. Last day to register is October 10th. Early vote starts October 23rd, and election day is November 7th. If you visit cyfairstrongschools.com, you'll get all the information that you need in making sure that we elect pro-public education school board members. And it's really important that we do this because they dictate the policy of Cy-Fair. We can't keep moving to the extremist right who keep saying all of these things that simply aren't happening in the schools. Again, these are people that don't want to fund public education. These are people that don't want to see Black kids succeed. We all know in the Cy-Fair area, we had a school board member, one of these three extremists, pretty much blame Black teachers for why Black students aren't being successful in the school district. I mean, this stuff is starting to get absurd. So we've got to get involved. We've got to get civically engaged. We've got to, most importantly, Lady O, we've got to make sure that the Whisper campaign is strong. Get in uncomfortable situations. You had children who went to who went schools in Cy-Fair. You have neighbors who have children who go to Cy-Fair. You do not want to see this school district diminish into something that's been happening in Carrollton and in some of these other school districts around the state. We've got to keep sanity in Cy-Fair.
Right. So the website that Otis was referring to, cyfairstrongschools.com, please go there. It has a wealth of information to tell you how to get involved. And this getting involved, I want you to think of it as if it were in the 50s and the 60s,
Right.
which means that you need to bring everybody that, we need to connect and bring, it's your mama them, your uncle them, anybody. You need to bring them all.
That's
Don't
right.
go yourself, bring everybody, because it's going to take all of us, not just one or two people voting. When I say one or two, I get somebody to vote and I get my friend to vote. It's going to take more than our 2 votes, okay? So I need to be getting probably 50 votes or 100 votes, and I have that influence in people that I know, and I need to make sure that they are aware and that they get involved and they connect. Those are things: get aware, informed, involved, and connect. And by connecting, it means that we have a network of people who are exponentially working together to make sure that this is done. And you can do that by getting trained and getting in there with the team and working together. As we said, we're stronger together, we're better together, we can do more together. So if you go to the cyfairstrongteachers.com, then they have walking things. We can tell you about some of the things that they have to do. You're going to have to get involved. You can't just vote. You have to walk and spread the word.
Right.
You have to volunteer, and you're going to have to give some money, because it takes money to run a race. And our opponents are getting a whole lot of money by other extremists who are pouring in the money. These people are not the best for our district, but with people advertising, then they will end up getting, especially if we stay home, especially if we don't bring our neighbors and our cousin Pook and them and all them bring. I don't care if they even know about public education. Are you registered to vote? Let's go.
Yes, right.
Okay. So we got to get them to the polls. And so let's just make sure that we do that. Go there and volunteer. Volunteer and volunteer. Go there, get information, and spread that information to your other family and friends. And then let's get together and walk and vote. We need people to man the polls all day, from early voting on, from sun up to sundown. We need shifts. So you need to be able to say, look, I'm gonna forego some of this stuff I planned in my life because I can do that in November and December. But if you pass this window up here, you may not be able to do some of those things. And you know, when they take over, it will go beyond our school district. It's going to go into our neighborhoods. It's going to go into the store. People will feel entitled to be able to do whatever they want to with us because they feel like they can walk over us and they have the power. We cannot give them the power. So go to the Cy-Fair Strong Schools and volunteer. Give money. Give some money, okay? Don't eat up all that money. You can give $100. You can give, and some of you have so much money, you can give $1,000 and it wouldn't hurt you. Well, we got to put our money where our mouth is and be able to buy signs, to be able to buy T-shirts, to be able to market around the, you know, this whole community. So, Otis, can you talk to us about the walking and why it's important for us to get out there one-on-one, and what else can we do? Would you recommend?
Yeah, Lady O, it's critically important to go knock on people's doors. It's that intimate feeling, it's that community feeling, it's that sense of purpose and being able to tell someone directly your message of why I'm the right person for the case. And that's why door knocking and block walking is so important. Making phone calls. If you go on this website, they'll have everything for you of how to sign up, how to knock on doors, how to make phone calls. I know they're going to set up some text messaging here soon. Making contact with voters is really important because it allows us to get the numbers up, get more people that we need to talk to make sure they're going out to the polls. And most importantly, it's an opportunity to introduce them to something they haven't been introduced to before. And the hope is that they get to introduce another person that's next to them to go do the same thing, right? We're trying to have that multiplying effect. Talking to voters face to face, over the phone, through text, whatever it is critically important. And like Lady O said, donating is a big part of this. I know we all always getting hit up for some kind of money, for some kind of campaign to make the world a better place. But for us, education is critically important. Like I said, the important lessons that I learned from my father and my mother was that education is the key, right? Not everyone's going to be an athlete. Not everyone's going to be an entertainer. Not everyone's going to get lucky and be on YouTube and be able to have a successful podcast. But we can have a lot of accountants. We can have a lot of firemen. We can have doctors, lawyers, politicians, people in elected positions. And the way that we have to do all of that is ministry, is that we have to be able to educate our future, particularly Black kids, right? We talk about this prison, the school to prison pipeline all the time. We've got to make sure that we're getting people elected to these positions so we can put a stop to that and making sure that they see the representation that are in their teachers. There are principals, there are counselors, there are school board trustees, and so forth. So it's critically important to make sure that you sign up for just one shift, 2 hours, an hour a day, and just go talk to 15 to 20 people and let them know why this is super important to you, and tell your story about whether you had a Cy-Fair ISD graduate or whether you currently have a student in some of these schools. And let's not forget, Lady O, we know this, right? A lot of people move out here because of the school district, right? That's a big reason why people come out here. We don't want our school district decaying. This is a growing Latino, this is a growing Black area here in Cy-Fair, and a little bit of the Katy address and a little bit of north with some of the different addresses and area codes that cover Cy-Fair ISD. So we want to make sure that our school district is top of the line, always getting that A grade. And a big part of that is making sure that we have sanity on our Cy-Fair ISD school board.
Right. And Denise Moria just put in the chat too, and I want to cover that, October the 3rd is National Night Out, where we talk in our neighborhoods. Why don't you get some Kool-Aid or lemonade or something, that tea and some cookies, and put outside in the driveway or on the street, and send some flyers and notes around your neighbors and say, come out this night. We're going to be talking about the state of our district, the state of our school board, and we're going to rally together to bring about change. Right. As a neighborhood, we can do this. So you can do those kind of gatherings. You don't have to have the candidate there. You can have some flyers there or cards there and read up on what he's about, and you can speak for him. We're going to try to get a video together that we can send out for different people if they want to show the video of, Bishop's endorsement and his information, about the school board. And then also we're backing a candidate, Cleveland Lane, and we also have asked him if he would do a video so we can share it. And then once you share, you can share it on Facebook and share wherever. You can share it in your parties. Like if you have something at your house, you just get your computer up and put him on the screen, and he's there. He can't be in a million places at one time, but if we think, smarter and just not work harder, we can get this done. So here's some things I want you to think about. Think about your sphere of influence. Who do you know as groups? We talk about the Divine Nine. Are you an AK person? We need to get into your meetings to share deltas. We've already done it. We're going to do it again. We're going to have a Divine Night Day at First Met and through RCDC. And we're going to talk about voter registration and those kind of things. So think about your connections, your Jack and Jills, your links, all of the Black entities that have tons of Black people. We need to get that word out to make sure all of our Black churches, and we want everybody, but I'm just saying, what can we do as Black people, which may be a little limited, but you have your neighborhood, you have your culture, you have your village of people that when you have something, you pull them together, you invite them to. This is the best thing you can invite them to. And it doesn't cost a lot, just some cookies and punch, and come on out and let's talk about this, and let's get an action plan.
That's right.
At these events, you want to make sure you have an action plan for these two things. You want to get them to donate money, and you want to get them to volunteer. Right. Okay. And you've got your website there that you can refer them to, or you can use that website to guide, to say, these are the places that we're going to do. Here's a calendar, here's a training. And so we can get you mobilized. I would really hope that some of our universities with these college students can get motivated to do the walking that we as senior people can't do as much of, but we need to get them walking. And a lot of times we have to pay them, some funds. That's where your donations come in. You can't walk, pay for somebody else to walk. So, all right, Mr. Otis, is there anything else that I missed? We got another young lady's going to come on. I hope you can stay and kind of bring up the rear before we go. But is there anything else that I missed that I'm just so thankful that you have are in the race to help save public education and get us mobilized and informed? So anything else?
Yeah, no, that's just this race is critically important to the future of Texas, right? We need a strong workforce. And in order to do that, in order to have a strong workforce, we have to have an educated workforce. And that starts at home. That starts in pre-K. It starts in kindergarten, starts through elementary school, going to middle school, going to high school. We've got to make sure that our school boards stay safe. That's really the important message here. We cannot give it to extremists who don't believe in adequately public education, who don't believe in books, who don't believe in making sure that our students are equitably treated, who don't believe in school safety. I mean, we've got to make sure these folks are no longer on our school board. And it starts with this race, because in 2023, no, we're in 2023 right now, in 2025, excuse me, these three extremists that are on the board now that make up the minority, they're going to be up for election. We want to make sure that we're going in strong in that 25 election for the Cy-Fair School Board, making sure that we have our ducks in a row. We have a good organization, and scare them and let them know we're coming. We're coming for you. So, that's what's really important here. And like I said, the website is there, Cy-Fair Strong Schools. Please go look at the website, look at the candidates they're endorsing and why it's critically important to have those candidates win the school board election. Again, important dates to remember. The last day to register to vote is October 10th in order for you to vote in this election. Early vote starts October 23rd, and then election day is November 7th. And if you're looking for a polling location, remember, you can vote anywhere in the county. If you're at work or if you're close to anywhere in the county, go to cfisd.net. They have the polling locations listed there. And I believe the CyFairStrongSchools.com as well has a link to where all the polling locations are going to be as well, too. So this is critically important, Lady O. I appreciate you having me on. I got to go spend time with the family, or my mama is going to, I won't say kill, but she will severely look at me very, very strongly. So no, I really appreciate you having me. You know how much I love
Oh,
Bishop O and you.
yeah, we love you too and appreciate you so much.
You.
Well, listen, we're going to get in there and thank you so much for coming on and sharing because we have to let our people know what's really going on. Otherwise, they don't know.
That's right.
And those of us that are really involved and you and we're going to have some of the other people on like Representative Rosenthal and so forth. Y'all know the ins and outs. You're at the table. So thank you for coming to share with us and letting us know and giving us that boost that we need to make a change.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
okay. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, if you can stay on, good. If you can, I do understand. I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna transition to our next guest. And listen, this next guest is a young lady who is very, very passionate about being an advocate for democracy and political awareness. So she is the director of the RCDC Political Awareness Advocacy Team, a group. It's called it's a Political Awareness Advocacy group that talks about, well, she's going to tell you what she's going to do and their plans and so forth. And she also has a good PowerPoint that's going to share with you some of the things that we need to be concerned about. And we're going to put any questions you have in the chat for her as we go along, and then we'll be able to ask them at the end of her session. So with Tea Talk, would you help me welcome Angela Martin Greer to Tea Talk? Hi, Angela. And you wearing that green too for the Tea Talk. You're looking beautiful. So listen, talk to us. Tell us about what's going on and share your PowerPoint with us and just get us informed and get us ready to really get excited about moving forward with the political awareness we need to have to move forward in our campaigns coming up.
Okay, sure. So the first thing is everyone needs to understand that every vote matters. Okay. And that we all need to let our voices be heard. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start us off by taking a look at the issues going into this last legislative session. We all had, several issues that were of vital importance to us that we wanted to make sure were going to be covered. For these elected officials, they just got elected, they made these promises. So these were the things we asked them to take a look at for us. We wanted them to look at education. So the funding for education, which Otis has kind of talked a little bit about, as well as the learning loss coming out of the pandemic. Police reform, making sure there's accountability and transparency there because we've had so many issues with regards to that. Gun violence, again, something that Lady O and Otis have alluded to with regards to school safety, making sure, that our students are safe. They're carrying these clear backpacks. They've got, they're doing mass shooter drills and things of that nature. Mental health, making sure that there's adequate and accessible care for everyone. Infrastructure, we know we came very close this summer with all these days over 100 degrees of the electric grid failing. So making sure that they were going to do something with regards to that, as well as flood mitigation. We've had so much, between the hurricanes and these, 100-year, 500-year storms, things of that nature. Voter suppression, making sure that everyone has equal access to the ballot box. They implemented a lot of new legislation the session prior. So just looking at how that affects us. Racial discrimination relating to the DEI restrictions, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Them talking about CRT and whether or not that's being taught in the schools. And then lastly, the shrinking of the insurance gap, making sure, we have access for everyone, to have access to healthcare. Yeah. So these were the things that, we were looking for them to take care of. So if you go to the next slide,
kind of go back there for 1 minute. I want to just highlight one thing that you said that's really kind of pulling in. If you go back one, the one that you said about the voter access. And I know that's something that your group is really going to be focusing on because there's so many different laws now that restrict our voting that could cause us to get in trouble or even be arrested or fined. And so those are some things I know that you're going to be doing. So that, and I didn't. The other one they took down here. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. That's why I guess the flow stopped. But I just wanted to talk about that. The education was one, and the voter access, and then let our viewers know that what you're referring to is not just the Cy-Fair district. It is the state. These are the things that the people we just elected, like our governor and all the people in Austin, that they are doing, and we are asking them to do. Now, the thing about it is, some of this stuff trickles down to our not only the state, it comes from the state, but it trickles down to the Cy-Fair community. And one of them is the funding of education and the voter access, which is what I know you guys are really going to be focusing on. So can you elaborate anything right now on the voter access and what you want to talk about voting?
Well, I would say just to kind of go into what Otis mentioned, how he's talked about early voting starts on the 23rd of October. The last day to register to vote is October 10th. But this time around, we actually have the benefit of being able to vote anywhere. So you don't have to just vote in your precinct. Like before, if you early voted, you could vote anywhere. But on election day, you had to vote in your precinct. Well, now you can vote anywhere, early voting or election day. So that's
the news. That's the one I wanted to reiterate, because I didn't know that. I knew it was certain times of the election period, but you're saying from day one to the day of voting, we can vote anywhere we want to, if it's close to our job, our children's school, because a lot of us have to pick up kids and we just don't even have time to take off and whatever. So anywhere. So there is no excuse. You can vote anywhere in the district.
Exactly. You can vote anywhere in Harris County.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. Make sure we put that in the chat there. That's good news. Okay. Go ahead with your PowerPoint. Oh, those are the two things I want to just go back to, the education and the voter part. And the other thing I just want to say real quickly about the DEI, when you're asking candidates in these public forums about representing us on the school board, ask them, do they believe in DEI? That's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And how can you represent me on the school board with all my different minorities and different races and religions if you don't believe that in diversity, if you don't believe in inclusion and in equity? Then that tells you right then that you believe that we should not have diversity, we should not have equity, and we should not have including. And I say you do not need to be representing this school district, because we are a vast group of people, and we need you to be really open to representing all people and including all people and giving everybody equity. And so that will be a question that I would say that you can ask when you go to these forums, these people who say they want to represent all of Cy-Fair on the school board. Okay, that's all I want to say. And of course, the gun violence. What do you believe about, gun violence? If they're saying that teachers need to be carrying guns and they believe in gun violence, and they don't need to be representing us, because our children need to be safe in these schools. Not only the children, the teachers need to be safe. And so we need somebody who really believes that, because if they don't believe that, they can't answer it that way, that means that they are part of the problem, not the solution. And you don't want to give them a seat in making decisions about our children, our schools, our teachers, and this community. Okay, go on to the next.
Yeah, next slide, please. So this last legislative session that we just came out of, we actually did have some good things to come out. So I've highlighted a couple, and thanks to Representative Rosenthal for the town hall that he had in bringing this information to the forefront. So the first one is Senate Bill 10, which is actually going to get a 13th check and cost of living increase for retired teachers, finally. So that's going to give them $5 billion as a whole. And then we also had House Bill 12, which is going to expand postpartum Medicaid coverage from 2 months to 12 months. So once these babies get here, not only will they get coverage, but the moms will get coverage for a whole year, which is amazing because it was only 2 months prior. Then Senate Bill 379, and that's going to give a tax exemption so that when you're buying certain things for your family, so if it's anything that has to do with, being a parent in a sense, The maternity, the postpartum, the menstrual, all those products will be exempt from taxation. So that's a little bit of help to our families. And then lastly, House Bill 567, which is the Crown Act. And as you see, I have my natural hair. A lot of our folks were getting discriminated in their workplaces and schools. I know you've seen on the news where our poor children have had to cut their hair in order to participate in certain sports activities and or getting expelled from school because their hairstyle violated the school's policy. Well, Texas has passed the Crown Act that went into effect September 1st. So as a result, that can no longer be the case. You cannot be discriminated against for your hair texture or styles in workplaces, schools, or in housing policies.
Good.
We can go on to the next slide.
Yes, that's good.
So unfortunately, these are some of the bad bills that passed. And as Lady O was just speaking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, Senate Bill 17 is banning those offices in state-funded colleges and universities. So 2 universities that are going to be really challenged by this new law are Prairie View and Texas Southern. They are both HBCUs, but they are state-funded universities. So banning having those offices is going to be of a detriment to how they run those universities, in addition to the majority universities, because they need to, have DEI in practice as they're trying to recruit new students, as they're trying to maintain students, as they're trying to develop their curriculum, all of those things. DEI is very important. And if you're eliminating those offices, then how are those issues going to be addressed or met? It's basically saying that that's not of importance in the state of Texas.
Exactly. And let me just jump in there because, I attended Texas A&M University for my PhD. And it was so wonderful to have that a part of that's what attracted me, because I felt like I didn't belong at Texas A&M University from the history that I've heard. And then when I saw that they had diversity, equity, inclusion, and all of the people that were there in place by the university, I felt welcomed. As a result, I was able to go there and get my PhD there. Now, one of the ladies that I know that was working there in that area, they've already fired her. They closed her office. And so she now no longer has a job because it pertained to diversity, equity, inclusion, and they closed down that department. So she doesn't have a job there. And I don't know what they're going to do with her, but if you're not tenured, you're just out of a job. If you're tenured, I believe they have to find you another spot somewhere. I'm not sure. But the fact that they closed her office just like that, it was just really heartbreaking. And she's put a lot into that university, as I'm sure many of the others too. So that was very disheartening to me. And the fact that they're coming after the Black colleges and universities. These are our schools where our kids come. And, diversity, equity, it just doesn't make sense to me. But it does make sense to me in the fact that it shows clearly what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep Black folk from having college degrees. They're trying to ban university. And really, ultimately, I think they're going to try to take over the Black colleges. So there will be no historically Black universities. I'm telling you, y'all better wake up and get out there and vote. They're going to take over our Black universities, which y'all know that's where most of the Black people that are in government, they got their degrees from these kind of colleges. And Kamala Harris, so they're coming after our universities, guys, where we are helping Black students to get colleges so that they can be in government, so that they can make good wages to move out of the ghetto and live in good houses and careers. So it's a big thing that's coming, guys. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to say that.
Oh, no. And when you said that as a segue, it makes you think about what's already happened on the business arena. There are several Black businesses that are no longer owned by Black people.
Yep.
Yep. I think BET is one.
Yep.
I think Ebony Magazine is one. Essence Magazine is one. So, there's a trend here. Okay, so
go ahead.
So
it's big. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. And if you think about it, if you change the education, or if you can influence the education, then you can change the outcome and the trajectory of folks.
Right.
So Senate Bill 18, when you were speaking about tenure, that is overhauling the tenure and faculty employment in higher education. They were trying to do some things to actually get rid of the tenure, but that was stopped. So then they just overhauled it in general.
Yeah.
Making it harder for certain folks to get tenure or to keep tenure or to qualify and things of that nature. And then lastly, House Bill 90. And this is the one that's, again, affecting the schools. It's going to require book publishers and vendors to rate the degree of sexual context in books, which is going to regulate what materials is available for school libraries. And by that, they're really coming after certain groups of people. Again, discrimination against one group is discrimination against us all, because they start in one area and then it spreads. So it makes it harder for school districts and teachers to be able to expose kids to different types of materials when those materials are limited.
Exactly. And you know, when I'm going to jump in real quickly, because I know when I was in public education and Black History Month, we were able to read all of those books and put all the little Black faces before our Black children. And I never shall forget how it made my Black students feel like they could be in a book. And one of my little white students, which I loved her, she loved me too. She meant no harm by it, but she raised her hand, and she's a kindergarten student. She goes, Mrs. Ogletree, can I ask a question? I said, sure. She said, why are all the people in this book Black? She was fearful. She was like, what is going on? All these people, and where am I? So you know what I mean? And so I said to her, I said, well, I read about books every day that have all white people in them. You never asked me why they were all white. And she looked at me, but it starts there, that you can have a conversation that it's okay for all Black people to be in a book, just like it's all okay for all white people. They don't want us to know our history. They don't want us to share our history with our own children. And they certainly don't want the young white children to know the history, because they're different. They're different than the way they were raised. And they may see that there needs to be some change going on if they know what has really happened and what's really going on. So they're seeking to keep this hidden from all students so that they can just control and manipulate it to keep it the way it was back in the 50s. And that's where they're trying to take us, guys, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Exactly. And the other part of it is that's really sad about, Texas's educational system is we have nearly a $33 billion surplus in this state. 33 billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
And yet, teachers, they're not talking about giving teachers a pay raise, nor are they talking about increasing the per student funding that goes to the schools.
Exactly.
Again,
I think they're saving for the vouchers. When they get the vouchers, and they probably will release it. They always said that's a rainy day fund. And we've always said, hey, it's raining. Did anybody know there's a storm going on? Give us that money. But I think they're trying to save it for the voucher program. That's my own personal opinion. Why else would they holding that? We need it.
Right. Exactly. But again, if the goal is to dismantle or defund public schools to prove that they don't work so they can get rid of public schools, then you definitely don't want to fund them. You don't want to give them any money.
Exactly. And that's the truth. Okay, go ahead. We're running kind of close here. What else?
I know. Can you go to the next slide?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so Otis pretty much already spoke about this. Basically, it's just saying with the school choice issue is that the governor is going to have a special session sometime next month. And what he really wants to do is allow, instead of the allotment going to the public schools, they want to have that allotment follow the student to wherever they go. So if the student goes to private school, then that monies would go with them there. So again, the goal is to underfund and take money away from public school. So when you go to the next slide.
On them as they go through the rainy day fund for their children. Okay, go ahead.
Right, exactly. So we've got a special election and a general election coming up. We've got 14 constitutional amendment propositions as well as Cy-Fair School Board. So if you can go to the next slide. So I didn't put all 14 constitutional amendments propositions in this presentation. The ones I kind of wanted to highlight are propositions 3, 9, 12, 13, and actually 4, which is on the next one. But basically, what you want to look at is the fact that with these different propositions, they are taking monies to, well, Proposition 9 is actually going to help the school teachers, retired teachers, because it's going to give them a cost of living adjustment.
Okay. So vote for number 9, teachers,
yes,
whatever. Can I go real quickly on them? Number 3, what is that one about?
Number 3 is going to limit our tax income, because what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that individuals, you're not going to get taxed on your wealth or your net worth.
So that's for the wealthy, correct?
Right. That's for the wealthy.
Okay.
Proposition 12 is going to get rid of the county treasurer in Galveston County.
Proposition. What do you mean they're going to get rid of the not the Harris County treasurer, just the Galveston?
Galveston County. They're going to get rid of that position.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Proposition 13. They're going to require state judges and justices. They're going to up their mandatory retirement age.
Oh, so they can stay in longer and be in there like 85 years old, like some of the people who are leading our government?
Yes.
Yeah, right. I wonder why that's going to be increased. And then they're making it harder for us to vote in new people, to educate new people, to vote in new people. And they're going to be stuck around here at 95 trying to tell us what to do. Okay.
And then Proposition 4, it's huge. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to increase the exemption from taxes, which is going to affect the monies that go towards our public schools.
Okay.
So you can read all about the different propositions on the League of Women Voters website. If you go to the next slide, let's see what we've got here. This is just outlining all of the Cy-Fair trustees that are currently in office. Their term expires in November. So as soon as the election takes place, their term
will end this are gone. Okay.
Right.
Let's see. So the only ones coming up that we vote on.
Yes. If you go to the next slide.
Okay.
You'll see that the trustees have a 4-year term and that there are 11 candidates that are running for these 4 positions. So I've listed who those individuals are.
And number one is the person I'm voting for, Cleveland Lane. So I just want to, and then the others on there, they're all there for you to consider. But I would say make sure you know what they stand for, okay, before you vote for them. And I've researched all of them, but I researched Cleveland Lane more, so he's my choice. So look at his stuff to see if he would be a good person for you to represent our children. And if he is, I want you to vote for him. Look at all the others. Look at they all have websites, right?
Exactly. They all have information out there. And as Otis said, there is the website cyfairstrongschools.com, which has the pro public school candidates. So please take a look at that and see if that platform matches and aligns with what you value. And if so, then those are the candidates you may want to vote for. The only incumbent of the list that you saw that are previous or current trustees is Julie Heineman. She's the only incumbent that's running for re-election. If you go to the next slide. So again, the dates that you need to remember, October 10th is the last day to register to vote. If you are 17 years old and 10 months, you can register to vote. You don't have to be 18 when you register. You just have to be 18 when you vote.
When you vote. Got that? But you got to register. You have to register, but you're registering if you will be 18 before the time we vote. So that means if you have a high school student that's 17, but they will be 18 at the time that they vote, you need to register them now. Okay.
Exactly. And early voting is from October 23rd to November 3rd. And then if you want to do a mail-in ballot, the last day to register for that is October 27th. And then election day is November 7th.
Okay. Very good.
And if you go to the next slide, this one is just showing some websites that you can reference. You can go to harrisvotes.com, and they have information on how to register, where your polling places are, the hours for early voting, as well as any other questions you may have about voting.
Right.
And then the League of Women Voters, they have a voter's guide that will show you a sample ballot and give you information on your particular race. But for this election, the only things that are on the ballot for us in Harris County are those 14 constitutional amendment propositions and the Cy-Fair trustees. If you live in the city of Houston, then you will have the mayoral race as well.
Okay, very good, very good. And also vote.gov is another one, right, that they can go to give you all kinds of information. Listen, our time is up, but I want to thank my guests for coming on. They've given us some very valuable information. Now, what I want you to do is to share this. Share this show with as many people as you can, as many times as you want to, because it's good information that they need to know. And remember to go to Cy-Fair Strong Schools and look at the slate of people that they have endorsed and that they have vetted that are for public schools. So if you are for public schools, these are the people that they have vetted and said that we need to vote these people in, and go check them out. Go vote, go take everybody else you know. We're going to have some more information too about some other activities that are coming up. But the thing is, get informed, get involved, and make a change by voting and getting everybody you know out to vote and inform that public school is on the ballot this time. If we let it go, public schools, we may end up like HISD. So thank you for joining Tea Talk today. I'm Lady O, and I'll see you next week at 3 for tea for another wonderful topic. Bye for now.